Cheating in chess has become a primary concern for the chess community, as some players have found ways to cheat and get themselves some questionable wins. Many chess players spend hours thinking of the best move that would lead them to win the game, but some players have resorted to cheating to achieve this goal. In this video, we will examine 3 notable cases of chess cheating and how the cheaters were caught. The first player. The first game involves Grandmaster Erik Hansen and a player with a rating of only 978 who challenged him to a 1v1 match for $250 US. Hansen expected an easy win, but after a few moves, he noticed some suspicious behavior from his opponent. After a few moves have been played, Erik Hansen starts to suspect that something is not right. He notices that his opponent is playing exceptionally well and using a line of play that he was not aware of, which seems suspicious to him. Erik realizes that he's not playing against a 900 rated player when his opponent quickly moves his king to h1. Erik knew he was facing a cheater when the opponent moved his king to h1 after just 12 moves and made a few incredibly strong moves. Erik became suspicious and decided to investigate. He found that the player was using a chess engine, which is a computer program that can analyze positions and suggest moves, to cheat during the game. Both players continued to play, and Hansen cornered his opponent's king with his queen and bishop, hoping to win the game. If he succeeds, he will become one of the few people to have defeated a chess cheater. However, his opponent thwarts his plans by moving their rook to g1 to play g5 to trap Erik's queen after rook h3. But Erik counters this move by playing h6 and the game continues. Despite his opponent's move being odd, he played g5 anyway in hopes of continuing the attack. After a lengthy consideration, Erik took the pawn with his bishop, which resulted in the cheater setting up a significant offensive, trapping the black king within view of 2 rooks and a queen. After the cheater played queen a2 and threatened to checkmate Erik's king, Erik defended his king but ultimately had to give away his queen. After a few moves, Erik lost a queen e4 checkmate, as his king had no available squares to move to. Following the game, it was discovered that the opponent had a 97% accuracy rate, and later on, he got banned from chess.com. The second player. The second game involves none other than Magnus Carlsen, the Norwegian chess prodigy, who is undoubtedly the finest chess player of our time. His strategic brilliance, tactical acumen, and unwavering focus have earned him numerous accolades. Carlsen's unrivaled ability to outmaneuver opponents, both in classical and rapid formats, have solidified his dominance in the chess world. In a hypothetical scenario where aliens invaded Earth and challenged humanity to a chess match, the weight of our hopes and aspirations would undoubtedly fall on Carlsen's shoulders. His unparalleled understanding of the game, coupled with his nerves of steel, would make him our ultimate champion. But even he once faced a cheater on an online stream, and what happened next will shock you. Stay tuned to watch out. Magnus Carlsen was playing online when a player named Alexander K challenged him. Alexander K, a player, challenged world champion Magnus Carlsen during an online livestream. After appearing to be a normal player, this individual was surreptitiously using cheating methods. At the start of the game, Magnus initiated by moving his knight to g3, and Alexander answered by moving his pawn to f5. As they continued playing, the game transformed into a form of the Dutch opening. Despite Alexander secretly cheating, Magnus Carlsen, being a master of the game, is aware of this and responds by moving his bishop to d3, attacking Alexander's knight. Alexander defends his knight, but Magnus is not fooled and exchanges the knight with his bishop. The game continues, with the queens being traded off. Even though Alexander is cheating, Magnus Carlsen proves to be a mastermind, surpassing any human's knowledge in endgames. After Magnus places his knight on g5, which threatens to fork the king and rook, Alexander quickly responds by moving his king back to block the threat. Both players then proceed to further develop their pieces. Although the cheater has an additional pawn, Magnus can easily recapture it, and he eventually does, so by taking the pawn with his knight, leading to a slightly better position for him. However, Alexander still has some tricks left in his bag. Upon playing his rook to d8, Alexander proposes a trade with Magnus, who begins to realize how flawlessly his opponent is performing. As the game progressed, both players traded more pieces, and Magnus realized that he was physically playing a cheater. In response, Magnus takes a more cautious approach, moving his pawn to f3, and both players continue to gradually attempt to gain an advantage over the other. This game also sees more pieces being exchanged, bringing both players closer to the endgame. Magnus begins to see some opportunities to win, but his hopes are dashed when his opponents move their knights back, revealing that they are cheating. Despite this, a pair of rooks are still traded off, and both players enter a highly competitive endgame. However, with over a minute and 30 seconds left, Magnus has a significant time advantage over his opponent, who is rapidly running out of time. After Alexander plays his knight to d4, Magnus moves his king closer, creating a triple attack on the knight. Alexander defends it once again, but with no way to outplay each other, both players continue moving their pieces. Eventually, Alexander runs out of time, shattering his hopes of defeating the world champion. Despite the cheater's best efforts, his time ran out, and Magnus won the game. Alexander was later confirmed to have been using stockfish, and even the world-renowned chess bot could not defeat Magnus. Third player. The third case involves world champion Viswanathan Anand, facing off against Nikhil Kamath, an Indian billionaire with an online rating of 400. Despite having an online rating of 400, which statistically meant that he had no chance of winning against Viswanathan Anand, he would be the next opponent. During the game, Nikhil was caught looking at something on the side, suggesting he might have been cheating. Anand had an advantage in the game, with an extra pawn on the board, but this advantage disappeared when Nikhil had all the threats. As both players continued to make their moves, it becomes increasingly apparent that Nikhil is much more skilled than his rating suggests. However, some doubts arise when Nikhil is observed repeatedly glancing off camera, indicating a potential cheat in progress. Anand was a favorable position with an additional pawn on the board. Nikhil's position seemed to be under threat, with his knight being attacked twice and a pawn about to be captured. The situation was unfavorable to the world champion, and Nikhil played his knight to g4 to capture the pawn on h4. Anand had to intervene, playing his queen to e8 and giving a check to Nikhil's king. Nikhil put his queen on c5, giving a check that forced Anand's king to move to the corner. After glancing at something on the side, likely an engine, Nikhil played rook to c1, the best move. Anand blocks it with his knight, although Nikhil is in a completely winning position. His time is running out, and Anand knows he can win by timeout. Nikhil responds by placing his queen on d1, posing a threat to take Anand's king and a back rank. As Nikhil had only 13 seconds left on the clock, Anand had to choose between winning the game on time or resigning, which would likely expose Nikhil as a cheater. After calculating his options, Anand decided to resign, and when Nikhil won, he remained expressionless. The commentators were stunned by what they saw, and Anand lost the game. Later, Nikhil was exposed as a cheater on chess.com, and his account was banned. He was forced to apologize to the entire chess community. Cheating in chess has become a significant problem for the chess community, with many players resorting to cheating to win games. However, with the use of advanced technology, it has become easier to catch cheaters. and measures have been put in place to ban them from playing. Cheating in chess undermines the integrity of the game and diminishes the skills of legitimate players. The cases described above serve as a reminder that cheating, in any form, is unacceptable, and that it's always better to play fair and square.